feels like it's been a long, long time since we've been here. Since I talked to you one-on-one, person-to-person about a long-winded topic that I normally don't feel like sharing unless like it's really, really down to the wire here. But we're going to try this today, and hopefully it resonates with you. And if it don't, let me know in the comment section down below. This is going to be deep. I know you already see the title. So one of the things that had caught me off guard growing up was that, and I'm not sure if it was due to the fact that I had like a good memory, whether it was I had a good, my autism was clicking. I can never say what it was, except I seem to have this very, very lost penchant for wanting to know why people did certain things. Why I could remember certain things from the past, but other people couldn't. I have always dealt with, therefore, feeling like I'm losing myself every day I'm awake. And it sucks because I can compare this in real time to what I'm doing in my life, and I can see things that are successful. I can see things that aren't successful. I try not to live within that because I understand that the world changes every day and there's not a lot you can control. There's not a lot that you want to control when it comes to thinking about just how intricate growing up is. And I feel like we all take that for granted. And I think I've always felt this way, that like, you know how they say youth is wasted on the young, and I used to counter that all the time when I was growing up with, well, time moves for everybody. I get that saying youth is wasted on the young, but I think that's because we've literally curtailed all the things that make being a youth good into, I shouldn't even say curtailed, we've culled every aspect of being a youth that could be exciting, and now we all have similar experiences and we all grow up around the same things. Now, this is a very America-centric thing. I'm quite aware that Israel is conducting in Gaza right now, so you'll have to excuse me if this sounds like a first world problem, and I still bring that up because it is important to recognize privilege in having streams of thought that remind you that you are as much as alone in this world. You are surrounded by almost 9 billion people. And these 9 billion people, whether the evilest motherfucker like Netanyahu in the world or the most homeless person, the most homeless, imagine me, the most down on their luck, homeless, like struck, everything, just the system fucking hates them type person. Everybody has a story. And everybody's stories are interesting to me. And I feel like we have gotten to the point where nobody has the time to think about anyone else's narrative. Now, that's a lot to say. That's a lot to say in a very small amount of time. I get that. I'm quite aware. But what I will say is I woke up one day and it was terrifying. I always had this image in my head, and I don't know if it came from the movies and how everything was color-coded, either blue or orange, depending on the time frame. But I always swore that when I woke up when I was a kid, I could remember. I would always tap something and say, I'm going to remember this day. I would remember to look around whenever I was on a school field trip or something, or today felt like an important day. I'm going to tap this desk, or I'm going to read this sentence, and I'm going to associate this sentence with this memory. And in 10 years, I can't wait to see if I still remember it. And like by the nature of just, I guess, being an explorative mind, now all those memories replay every single day. I was never a fan of the idea of peaking in high school until I met the weirdos that control information on the internet and people who listen to other people, who disparage and degrade others. I'm looking for that day where it's blue outside and I'm waking up right at around 5:30. and I'm getting ready to go to school. And then one day that pattern just ended. I finished what I needed to finish and I did what I had to do. I was approved by all standards and all metrics of what it meant to turn 18. Then 19 came, then 20 came, and then 30 came. Then 31 came. 32 is coming up soon. The markers of what it's like to be an adult don't occur to you anymore in the same fashion. People say it's about working hard, living a good life, and it's all the variables of everything that I have ever seen in my life that have led me to this camera, this microphone, and you as the viewer. A lot of other people wouldn't have survived. A lot of other people in my life that went through similar things didn't. When we saw each other every single time, we said to each other that we were still having those childhood dreams, those childhood memories. We were still adults, but we were still children at heart. And for some reason, I know that I am barreling so far and so fast into a moment where none of that is true anymore. None of that is something that I can look forward to because I am there. And there was no house, there was no car, there was no six-figure job, there was nothing for me after college, there was nothing for me after high school. Everything that I went through all developed within a synapse of knowing that my place in the world, no matter how smart I was, no matter how good I was at the words, the poetry, the math, the science, I was a beast in chem, dog. I was a beast in chem. I was even a bigger beast in math. History, please. Straight A student. College hit, things got rocky, and I was like, why? You used to be great in high school. What happened to your grades? Yeah, my dad keeps doing drugs in the other room, and it's fucking up my focus. But that's not an excuse you're allowed to have. Now I'm 31. Who's there to hold the excuse in my hands when I tell you I haven't finished something in a week? But I'm an adult now. It's up to me. It's my responsibility to decide that I'm not going to do this, that, or that. I'm going to do the only thing that I was put on this earth to do at that time. Could be make a song. Could be finish up a chapter of the manga I'm writing. Could be make sure to eat. Could be make sure to have fun. Could be make sure to be creative. But at the end of the day, no matter what I do, I still locked myself down into using my art as a vehicle for expression to get paid. Because no matter what anybody tells you, once they start taking this shit seriously, the next end goal is, how do I pay my rent off of this? And I could go on a years-long tangent about the commodification of art and how I think every single YouTuber that has ever discussed anything about radicalization misses one key point. It's never about the exposure and the ability to counter the exposure. It's too late. That game was shot the moment the internet came up because we grew up in the era with no filters. For some reason, we understood what safety meant, but now we don't have those same safety guardrails here. So growing up in this universe, in this ideal landscape where everyone's connected by this wire and this signal and that signal, how do I properly explain to anybody, yo, this is adulthood? It's not the adulthood that you were raised up upon. It's not the adulthood you see in the TV. It's not the adulthood you thought you were going to get out of high school. It's not the adulthood you thought college was going to be like. But you are one. And at every single turn, someone will try to strip you away of the autonomy of being an adult. Whether it's at your workplace where you finally decide, yo, I can finally talk and, people will listen to me if I'm the boss. And then you realize people hate their bosses. But I'm a nice person. They don't give a shit. All these complex relationships you're forced to navigate with no guide. And at some point, someone will look at you and say, why are you acting like that? You're an adult. And you'll get this gray matter shock where you look at the other person and you say, oh shit, I haven't looked in the mirror often. I do it every day, but for some reason I never looked in the mirror. I never categorized what my pain was, and now I'm living with it as an excuse. Not an excuse to get out of things, but an excuse not to confront a reality that's been confronting me every day I wake up. That culmination, that conclusion of all the little tiny things that you do day in and day out is the reminder of a failure system in which we participate every day. And there will be no wishing, there will be no hoping, there will be no guidance, there will be no love. It'll just be transactional. And you'll say, watching this right now, it absolutely is not that way for me. Well, it is for me. And you ended up watching this. So imagine if I didn't tell you it was a transactional deal. Imagine if I sat here and said, you're the reason why I'm not a big person right now. You're the reason why I don't have 100,000 subscribers. You're the reason why, knowing that you have a story too. And when the thought that you can't control your surroundings, no matter how good you are, finally weighs down on you in a way that blocks something that you've been wanting to do your whole life, you'll say, why did I give up on that? Because that's what adults do. We're the grown folk. I remember the post that I would always see about, why aren't anybody doing any cookouts now? Where's all the cookouts at? Every time I was growing up, there was a cookout every weekend. That's on you. Just like being good at this is on me. Just like all the times that I've told you before, big things coming and then never delivered. I've tried to keep that away from this stream, and I've been able to deliver on a lot of things, but I should be way ahead of where I'm at right now. And here I am telling you that one day I woke up and it was terrifying. One day I woke up and realized my dad won't be there anymore. He'll pass away. So the flashbacks of me saving his life from an overdose keep replaying in my head. But he's here now, so why should you even think about it? Conflicting rationality with emotion. Very hard for a level-headed, self-regulating emotion type of person. Someone who's got their shit in check. Then my friends die. And I've got no one to talk to on the phone. But that's being selfish. Those people were children to parents and family members. Everybody misses them. That's crazy because some of them died too. The immoral passage of time. The game that we play. Thinking that this will be infinite and only fearing the end when we're close to it. Why don't we operate like that every day? Everybody, I love those motivational motherfuckers that say shit like that. Operate every day like it's your last. Well, for some people, every day could be their last. And I'm asked to truncate that into some meaningful 5-second blip that somebody can clip and put on a social media site so I can get more people so they can hear the full truth. What if I just spoke in full truths? Eventually we'd have nothing to talk about. But I'd still be here. Will you? And will we be the same person when we finally sit down and have that conversation? They say don't compare your life to others. Yet we built an entire economy on comparing our lives to others. I had no part in that. Yet if I go Google right now how to be successful doing this Twitch shit or this podcast shit or something like that, these motherfuckers would give me every option under the sun other than, if you're really that good, go here. And they'll test you out. Here's a job opportunity for you. No, just keep grinding, dude. Just keep grinding. Well, it feels like I've been grinding my skull into gray matter. And I can't roll up with that. Everybody will see this and say, like, some form of, yo, what's his problem? Why is he taking it so seriously? It's like, I can hear the negative voices that, like, have pulled me down for decades, telling me that this isn't informative, engaging, entertaining enough. And then I sit there and I say, well, damn, that's crazy because the things that you partake in, according to your standards, are not good enough. So why do you do it? Because that's what's out there. Interesting. Rationality over emotion, maturity over confidence, willingness over desperation. And then you wake up one morning and realize all the cards are in your deck and you haven't dealt yet. So you try scrambling, you try focusing, you try making a metaphor out of everything because people get it more when it resonates with something they got going on personally. But when you wake up one day, you will hear, feel, see something that reminds you of 10 years ago, and you will say, oh shit, 10 years have passed. What do I have? For many people watching, they probably got a lot. still want a lot more. For a lot of people watching, they probably don't have enough and need more. Who am I to put myself above those who ask when I demand? Should I gravitate towards demanding? But I wouldn't want to be demanded to. How do you do things when you're programmed not to? Childhood, a fixation on nothing but death. Every song I would listen to, I still remember the day it snowed outside when I had broke my leg in 8th grade. And I was supposed to go for physical therapy, but it was snowing outside. So I hobbled my little ass because I just wanted to, stand up and like try to, get some weight on the foot. And in that snow, I remember the song My December came on a CD that I had burned over around the corner at the local shelter because they had a computer for use. And I remember my CD player and it skipping in the cold and getting wet and somehow still surviving. And I asked myself, is winter always going to feel like this? Because this is fucking annoying. Now climate change is taking away my winters. What child am I supposed to have and what stories am I supposed to tell them if the reality they live in now doesn't measure up to what I had just simply 23 years ago? So it's the age of a full-grown adult, man. So how can I guide the youth when the questions I'm asking don't apply to the world they live in? Am I underprepared? Or did the game change? We gotta go right back to that excuse. We go right back to that place. That undeniable sinking feeling that you're not good enough. And if you think this has anything to do with just money, look at the owner of X. A self-wallowing in pity divorcee who wants the world to accept him because his own family won't. And he'll spend any amount of money to do it. We can be alarmed at his radicalization and his defense of the alt-right and all of that other stuff, but that person is vulnerable. And being vulnerable makes you a target. Is he a valid target? Absolutely. No one would deny that. But is that friend trying to reach out to you for the last 5 years that you keep ignoring because you keep thinking about your past with them and somehow middle school plays into it and you're still concerned about the fact that they called you a name back then? Or have you not even thought about any of the relationships you haven't even tried to maintain? Everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's got their own story. You can imagine what it's like to be someone like me now. It's one thing when somebody you don't know contacts you and asks you, hey, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. I heard they passed away. Is it true? And before you could get that message to them, because you don't want to answer it, because you don't want it to be real, you wait a day. And then all of a sudden you can't message them and found out they passed away too. Crazy. One day I woke up and it was terrifying. I realized that it's all out of my control. The only thing I can do is be where I'm at, and I didn't earn where I'm at. I had to beg for it. I had to be threatened by my father to get it. I had to sacrifice every possible relationship I had in my neighborhood to get it. I had to change and streamline my entire process towards what I love the most apparently right now, which is creating art and speaking. I had to change the medium. I had to sacrifice thinking about getting a job because if you got to put your time into this, you got to make your money some other way. I slaved and toiled over the coils for years. And the best thing that ever came out of it was my memorial videos for those who can no longer share this journey with me. You could imagine what it's like to be me. When I say I want it all, it's because I want it all because I got nothing left. No matter what I do, I'm afraid of losing it. Whatever is in my hands now. One false move, one bad move, this platform goes. What do I do? Just return back to the workforce? slave away for a meager salary that won't be able to afford anything, and then hope by the grace of God that I have enough time left and enough willpower to stay awake to hopefully make something from the hours of 7 to 10 until I gotta go to sleep and wake up for the next day of work. What do you want? And are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay for it? Or are you hoping that somebody sponsors you? Something sponsors you. Some star descends upon your chart and makes you the focus of attention. Well, we're losing the spots available to that because everything's shrinking and we're all growing older. So are you still trying to apply your work ethic to a world that no longer exists? I couldn't be 60 with that regret. I couldn't be 65 with that regret. And that's okay if you could. Because one day you will wake up and it will be terrifying. You're in control of your own body, your own thoughts. The placebo effect is real. But the one thing you can't control is how reality dictates your emotions. And you will be stuck within that no matter how hard you try to escape it. Because wherever you are right now, however you got to rent, however you got to eat, the last friend you hung out with, the last experience that weighs heavy on your heart, that feeling is the last thing no one can take from you. And I've stored thousands of them. I've done a great job cataloging those stories too. Perfect memories, perfect times, perfect descriptions to a group of people who don't even remember me, to a group of people who don't keep up with me, to a world that literally allowed 1.2 million people in just the United States alone to die preventable deaths and then blamed it on politics. A lot of those people, or at least a nice 0.0001% or some shit, I knew niggas that died from it. And I'm expected to continue to entertain in a world where half the people who watch it tell others that this shit ain't even real. I got people whose cafes I've been going to for 10 years, ever since they opened, posting motherfucking, oh, I'm glad there are two genders now. Great, nobody's a fucking ally in this war. So I got to do something. There's got to be a way to differentiate my message from others. What if I could drown it in alcohol? What if I could just level with a large audience at any point that what you're about to hear for the next 20 minutes will be the most heartbreaking thing you will ever experience. And all I ever want is for you to be a different person than when you came in here, than when you met me. Or maybe that's a pipe dream. Maybe that's not for people like me. Maybe we're not on opposite ends of the depressive spectrum. Maybe we're in it, between complacent and calamity, between conscience and chaos, and the barriers that we have set up against us being minorities, being trans at this point, how being a foreigner, all these things that block us from seeing the clear path of time, all the wars we will fight, all the bread we will snatch, all the times we will be angry and can do nothing about it. You will wake up one day and you will realize that all of this is terrifying, and then you will go about your day. All I ask is that you don't let that moment go by. All I ask is that you give it a second and realize this might be the last time you get to talk to the one person who you knows how full of shit you are. And that's yourself. I still haven't had that conversation yet, even though I pretty much do it every goddamn day on this platform. Every friend I have sees smiles. Every person I like sees smiles. Everybody sees happiness in me. Even here, most people trickle in will find this a performance worthy of 10 stars, but it's just me. That's just what I do. That's how I exist. You want it all? You're going to have to give it all up. Can you do that? I don't know if I can, but I'm trying to figure that out. And I don't have a lot of time left before time's up for me. So better to go out on my own laurels. Better to go out on my own terms. Better to go out as my own person than spend 70 years wondering what I could have been. And when you finally get that one beautiful blue morning and you wake up hours before your alarm does, and for some reason your body pulls you out of its sleep and you get dressed for some dumbass reason and you leave your house, whether you live in a city, a fucking farm, in the middle of the goddamn highway, and you look around you and you realize that millions of stories could be just like yours. It will be terrifying, not because you experience existential dread on the day, but your mind won't let you let it go for some reason. And there will be no amount of accomplishment that will ever shake it out. So instead of hiding it like we all do, how about you share it with us? I'm the Paradigm Shift. And there's your video essay of the week.